Hey folks, sorry for the late message, but due to a personal family issue, I'm not going to be able to be on campus tomorrow, Wednesday, April 5th. So in place of class, I've put together this brief YouTube tutorial that'll walk you through the assignment that I originally planned for us to do during class tomorrow. So let's take a look at that assignment. So the assignment is Journal 11, and it's in the journal areas of the classroom. Now, remember, the journals sort of got a little wonky after we hit Journal 10, so you'll see Journal 11 is right here, sort of in the middle. The assignment is pretty straightforward. It says, now that you've had an opportunity to articulate your overarching argument and brainstorm some ideas regarding possible essay openings, it's time to put together your full introduction, whether it be 1, 2, or more paragraphs. That's really what this assignment is. It's a chance to take the opening you came up with in journal, 10, and then also the argument you came up with in journal number 9 and put them all together in one full introduction. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be one paragraph, but typically intros will be one paragraphs, especially if it's a shorter essay of 2 or 3 pages. So the journal instructions say, firstly, choose your favorite opening from journal 10. Next, using your argument from journal 9, combine both in order to put together a full introduction to your essay that contains an engaging lead and clearly states your argument. Here's the important part. It is very likely you'll need to do a bit of editorial work in order to effectively transition smoothly between your opening and your argument. So reword, edit, or revise as much as you feel is needed so your introduction has a smooth organizational structure holding together as one coherent piece. So what that means is, I know right now you have an opening, if not 2 openings that you came up with in Journal 10. You also have an argument, but it's sort of a bunch of ideas. So taking these ideas and putting them all together in a coherent introduction or opening to an essay is going to take a little bit of editorial work and time. So maybe we can look at an example of exactly what that might look like. All right, so let's look at this introduction, which is exactly where many of you are. A lot of you have an interesting opening, and a lot of you have a strong argument that is sort of like the overarching argument of your essay. What this journal is asking you to do is put these together into one coherent introduction. So in this case, I'm not going to read the whole thing to you, but if we read it, this opening, which is like an interesting, engaging question to compel the reader to read on, does not very smoothly transition into the argument. You have this opening that ends with this question, and then you have this argument that says some argue renewables such as solar, wind, and hydroelectric are the answer, and although these are critical elements, blah, blah, blah. The problem is you need something between this and this. So what we call that is a transition. So often between the sort of opening, the lead, whatever technique you used, maybe it's a startling statistic, a question, a relevant example, an imaginative scenario, whatever you do, getting into that argument, rarely is it set up so easily for you that you just take the one piece and cram it over the top piece and you're good to go. You usually need a sentence or two to transition your reader smoothly from one to the other. So in this case, we have this opening, engaging question. We have the argument. I'm happy with both of them, but I can't just cram them together because organizationally speaking, it wouldn't make a great deal of sense to a reader. So in this case, I need some sort of transition to put together, which I've written here, or taken at least from one of the examples we looked at in class. So when I take it and put it all together, it sort of runs together in one smooth piece of writing. So the transition goes from the question and says, there are no easy answers to this question. They all require significant sacrifice on the part of citizens, the manufacturing sector, the world governments, all of whom have grown not only accustomed, but reliant upon the comfort and convenience of technology and modern living. And then it kind of moves into the argument much smoother. Right? So think about this when you do this particular journal assignment. It's going to be easier if you spend a bit of time, perhaps rewording your opening, perhaps rewording your argument, and coming up with some ideas regarding transitional phrasing that move us from compelling, interesting opening into argument. You're going to need something in between. So I hope that makes sense. But essentially, that's what I'm asking you to do for class tomorrow, is to use class time to do exactly that. And as always, I'm available, so make sure you reach out and let me know what you need. But I'm looking forward to exactly what you come up with in terms of an intro. And then what we can do is build off that and start the rest of the the essay. And that's where we'll focus on primarily next week, how to incorporate research effectively that consistently is proving the points you made in your intro.